Welcome to Uncloseted Conversations. Even if you stumbled upon this channel by accident, you are welcome here. The stories here are from my heart, from my soul, from my pen to your ears. I hope that you will stay a little longer and open yourself to the magic of storytelling. Here I write fiction, and though not always aligning with reality, it still tugs at heartstrings. Stories are escapes and sometimes a balm to the soul. So, enjoy your time here, and if reality presses down too loud and too hard, come knock at the door, come in, take a seat, grab a coffee, and just exhale. These are veil-bound stories, and the space is free and non-judgmental. Sit back, earphones or pods in, and let's listen to another exquisite romance. The Architect and the Ghost Queen. She rewrote the rules. She conquered the heart of the Ghost Queen. Chapter 1. Conquer the Ghost Queen. My face slid between her legs, parting them slightly as I captured her wetness hungrily with my mouth. My tongue searched for the perfect entry, and I felt her lift herself from the bed, chasing me. I circled her most sensitive place slowly, deliberately, drawing every shiver, every gasp, every broken moan from her body. My hands moved down from her breasts, savoring the contrast of her skin. Firm, athletic, softening beneath my touch. They came to rest on her knees, and I pressed them gently apart as I continued to tease her with my tongue. She gasped again and again, her voice fraying into whimpers and pleas. I felt her climb toward the edge, her body arching off the bed. I plunged my mouth deeper, my tongue driving inside her, and felt her go rigid, then rise into me, giving me everything freely. I held her thighs open and worked in rhythm with my racing heart. Then I felt it. Her release. She lifted higher into my mouth and shattered, her body shivering, shaking, her legs locking around my head. I tasted her, and it was sweet, exquisite. I didn't stop. I pushed her past the moment, past herself, felt her tense again against my mouth. Her hands gripped the back of my head, urging me deeper, closer. She begged me not to stop, begged me to undo her. I obliged. I drove my tongue back into her, drawing more of her into my mouth, drinking her essence, becoming her unraveling. She screamed as wave after wave broke through her, all at once, until her body finally went limp beneath me. I knew I had pulled every need, every want, every hunger from her. I crawled up her body and felt her still trembling, her eyes closed as the last aftershocks moved through her. I captured her lips, slick with the taste of herself, and let her feel it on mine. Her kiss was hungry, desperate. Her tongue searched, and I welcomed it. She kissed me like I was oxygen, like she needed me to breathe. I let her. She pulled me down onto her, our heated skins sliding together. She parted her legs and I fell between them, grinding, chasing my own edge now. My climax built fast. She held me so tightly it felt like I was melting into her. Her hand slipped between us, and when her fingers found their way inside me, I spilled against her palm, helpless and open. She smiled, kissed me again, and this time she took her time, consuming me with nothing but her mouth. I lifted my head. She was smiling, eyes dark, lips curved with quiet triumph. Then she whispered, "You just did what no one ever could." "And what's that?" I asked, my voice unsteady. "Make me scream." I laughed and kissed her again. She let me, her nails dragging down my back, pulling a sound from my chest. Her laugh was victorious, deliciously dangerous, and I was completely lost in the most powerful woman in Spain. I smiled at the thought of pinning Jimena Yanira Rabellini down and making her scream my name. Who am I, you ask? Who is the woman who held the Ghost Queen of Spain beneath her and drew every gasp, every moan, every shiver from her trembling body? Let's take a step back. Let's see how I ended up here on my elbows, looking down at Jimena Yanira Rabellini. Chapter 2. The Accountant. The late afternoon sun struck the balcony just right, turning dust motes into drifting constellations. I stood in the floor-to-ceiling office of Labyrinth Intelligence, pressing my fingers into my tired eyes, silently screaming into the quiet. The email glowed on my laptop screen. Clear. Rude. Dismissive as hell. Kiva, please do not attend the gala on Friday. This will be a mistake. You are no longer a member of the Odovlin family, and we would like to keep it that way. Ava. My sister. Ava Odovlin. Born 5 seconds before me, and never letting me forget it, her heavy Irish accent always ready to deliver the reminder like a verdict. We were identical twins, born to Daisy and Harrison Odovlin 29 years ago. Same face. Same smile. Different gravity. We grew up like most twins do, turning confusion into an art form. Tricking our parents, our teachers, our friends. Making them think they were talking to Ava when it was really me. Or pretending to be sick so Ava could slip out and meet her boyfriend, while I stayed behind, the good one, the quiet one, always in my room. Studying. Sleeping. Invisible. Then came university. Ava went into business administration, exactly where my father had always steered her. I followed my obsession. Programming. Code. Systems that whispered if you listened long enough. She became the rising star of Odovlin Corp., sliding effortlessly into the role that had been waiting for her since childhood. I went further. Too far, some would say. It was an accident. Truly. A late night, a challenge I shouldn't have touched, and suddenly I was inside the Department of Justice's security database. Our street filled with police and government vehicles within minutes, blue lights painting our windows in accusation. My father's face when he realized what I'd done still lives in my memory. Horror didn't even come close to describing it. Ava called me a disgrace. Said she wished I'd never been born wearing her face. So, I changed it. I started wearing glasses. Dyed my hair from red to black. Stopped with the makeup. Changed my name. I didn't just disappear. I rewrote myself. 10 years later, I was being erased again. The charity gala was being hosted by Odovlin Corporation. Invitations went out to every major stakeholder in the district. And yes, Labyrinth Intelligence received one too. Chapter 3. Brush Encounter with Ghosts. What Ava didn't know was simple. Labyrinth Intelligence was me. She thought I'd RSVP'd as my mother's guest, that Dad being out of state, or maybe laying in some godforsaken motel, made my presence harmless. She saw my name on the list and assumed coincidence. My phone rang on the desk. Yes, Luna. My executive assistant's voice came through tight, stretched thin with urgency. Ma'am, there's unusual activity at the port. I've already deployed agents, but we've had radio silence for 10 minutes. My world shifted. The architect in me woke up. Fingers to keys. Mind to lattice. I pulled up the island map, then the citywide security grid. Every camera, every feed, every blind spot laid bare in seconds. The Barcelonan port filled my screens with live footage. My team was in position. The operation unfolded clean. Entry. Rescue. Extraction. Perfect. Too perfect. There, I murmured. That shouldn't be there. A flicker. A seam in the system. A shadow pretending to be empty space. My stomach tightened with the unmistakable sensation of being watched by something that didn't want to be seen. Luna, send the helicopter. The team is clear. I cut the call and leaned forward, diving into code most people never touched and others never knew existed. The anomaly pulsed on my screen like a dare. And I, Kiva Savannah McAuliffe, have always loved a challenge. Come on, I whispered. Show me who's hiding behind you, little ghost. Code folded into itself. Screens cascaded. Syntax turned into pathways, then into doors. I moved through the system like a breath through a cathedral, silent and reverent and dangerous. I hadn't felt this alive in years. This wasn't work. This was a chase. This was adrenaline. This was what I live for. This was pure unadulterated joy, and it was a hard turn-on. I moved through the system like a whisper, danced around corners like a breath, boxed it in, forced it to reveal its shape, and then I pinned the signal. An hour later, I leaned back in my chair and laughed, breathless and bright with the thrill of it. Because the name staring back at me was priceless. Jimena Yanira Rabellini, the Ghost Queen of Spain. I closed my laptop and stood. In the corner of the room, a small table waited with its quiet arsenal of bottles. I chose an 18-year-old whiskey, poured a glass neat, and downed it in one smooth pull. Heat spread through me, grounding, steadying. I poured another, this time letting the gold swirl lazily in the glass. I sipped it slow, savoring the contrast between the rush of the hunt and the patience of the burn. I hadn't gone looking for the Ghost Queen, but I'd just found her. And suddenly, the gala felt less like an obligation and more like an invitation. Chapter 4: Ava's Awakening. The dress I chose for the evening was midnight blue, a sin stitched into silk, and God help me, I loved being a sinner. The back dipped low, the fabric clung in all the right places, moving like liquid with every step. Hayden Castle was a sorcerer with fabric. I'd stopped coloring my hair years ago. My natural red curls were pulled high, and with every movement the light caught them, turning my hair into fire. My skin was sun-kissed, not the careful porcelain pale my twin wore like armor. I paused just short of the entrance. Inhale. Exhale. Count the breath out. Then I stepped into the lion's den. Ava stood at the center of the room, effortlessly charming a millionaire I recognized from a recent interview. My mother hovered slightly to the side, uncertain, misplaced, like furniture no one remembered arranging. The room went quiet when people noticed me. Not silence. Awareness. Eyes narrowed. Brows furrowed. Whispers stalled mid-thought. Then Ava turned. The temperature dropped. Her smile vanished, replaced by that familiar cold, calculating precision. The other half of my twin, the one sharpened by ambition and inheritance. We shared a womb, I thought, but when we met the world, she chose a gravity utterly different from mine. The only thing identical about us now was our face. I walked toward her slowly, my heels ticking against the marble like a metronome. The room held its breath. I stopped inches from her and smiled. Ava. That was all. I turned past her and faced my mother, who stood behind her like a trapped thing. Mom, I said gently, I'd like a drink. Join me. It wasn't a request or a command. Just an opening. She smiled immediately and took my hand. At the bar, I ordered 2 whiskeys. I waited. I placed one in my mother's hand. One last. I asked over the rim of my glass, watching her eyes close as the whiskey touched her lips. God, she sighed. Too long. I laughed and hugged her, whispering against her ear, I missed you. She squeezed me back. Over her shoulder, I caught Ava watching us, and I swear I could see heat curling around her mouth. A fire breather, barely contained. I turned back to my mother, feeling something playful and wicked stir just beneath my composure. Am I still the criminal extraordinaire? I asked lightly. She tapped my arm with a quiet warning and focused very hard on her glass, just as my sister approached. Chapter 5: The Disgraced Twin. I stopped caring about my sister's opinion of me years ago. It simply no longer mattered. What mattered was that she remained blissfully unaware of the moment everything began to unravel. When Dad stopped making payments on the house. When his investments soured. When the company started eating itself from the inside. I watched it happen in silence. I kept track of the Odevlin household. Of the books. Of the slow collapse. And the moment I realized my mother would end up on the street because of my father's recklessness and Ava's incompetence, I stepped in. Quietly. I found a discreet lawyer. Brilliant. Invisible. Together we built a shell company and a trust. I bought the bank that held the debt. I made sure my mother would never lack for anything, and I made certain my father and sister would never know how the company was still breathing after they'd drained it dry. I became a major investor. 65%. I acquired the shares while Odevlin Corp was collapsing, then brought in investors from my vantage point, repositioned the company, and ran it from the shadows without them ever realizing they were no longer in control. It was poetic and deeply satisfying. My mother was the only one who visited me, the only one who called. She checked on me regularly, made sure I never forgot that I was loved. "You are one half of a whole that I carried," she would say during our secret meetings. How could I not care for you, Kiva? My father never knew. He was too busy gambling away what little dignity he had left. I established a trust in my mother's name. She would be cared for until the day she died. That part of the story was non-negotiable. Now my sister was approaching me like I was something on the floor she didn't want to step in. "What are you doing here?" she hissed. "Good to see you too, Ava," I replied, my voice calm. Too calm. Her jaw tightened. I could feel the claws sharpening behind her smile, ready to come out. Then the organizer's voice cut across the room. Chapter 6: Truths Revealed. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the annual gala of the tech industry. We trust you've all mingled and exchanged business cards. Laughter rippled through the room. Ava glanced at me one last time before turning toward the podium. She was waiting for a very special announcement. She just didn't know it yet. The host droned on about investments and partnerships and future-forward nonsense. I was already bored. Ava had moved closer to the center of the room, positioning herself perfectly. I checked my watch. 10 minutes to showtime. My mother stepped closer and slipped her arm through mine. The familiar weight of her presence steadied me, and I squeezed her hand. Behind the host, the screen came alive with glossy visuals of developments and construction sites, steel and glass streams clawing at the skyline. I leaned in and whispered, "I'll be right back." "Stay here." She nodded. I turned and slipped through a side entrance, phone already in hand. One call. Short. Precise. When I stepped back into the hall, I waited in the wings, pulse humming beneath silk. 10. 9. 8. My body buzzed. 7. 6. 5. The screen shifted abruptly. 4. 3. I turned and winked at my mother. 2. 1. And now, the reason for tonight's gala, the host announced. I have the privilege of introducing this year's recipient of both the ACM Turing Award and the Global Business Award. A murmur swept the room. "I'll be honest," he continued, smiling. "I've never seen this before. These awards are titans in their own right, and they are almost never awarded to the same individual." He paused, scanning the sea of expectant faces, then looked down again, amused. Ava stepped forward. I'm not sure why. Maybe she thought her name would be called. Maybe instinct pulled her toward power, toward proximity, toward the illusion of alignment with greatness. The room held its breath as the host lifted his head. "Please welcome Miss Kiva Savannah McAuliffe." In that instant, all that talk about twin energies and shared feelings and cosmic bonds detonated in Ava's chest. I stepped out from the shadows. My midnight gown flowed like liquid with every stride, fabric whispering secrets across the floor. My eyes locked on the podium. I did not look at my sister. I refused her that mercy. Each step was a declaration. A groundbreaker. I had carved this path through sleepless nights, through sabotage and silence, through the walls my father and sister had built to sell their petty lies as truth. At the podium, I paused. My fingers brushed the locket at my throat. Then, head high, spine straight, I stepped forward. The silence that swallowed the room was exquisite. A symphony of shock and satisfaction. But the awards were not the best part. The best part was looking down and seeing my twin's face frozen in disbelief. That moment, that fracture, that was pure, unfiltered power. I accepted the awards, then took the microphone. I let the silence linger, just long enough to make it hurt. Then I found my mother in the crowd and smiled. My voice was calm, clear, unyielding. I would not be standing here if it weren't for the one person who stood by me when the world came armed with destruction and humiliation. Mom, you're my rock. These awards belong to you. I extended my hand. My mother walked toward me, steps unsteady but determined. When she reached Ava, she stopped. Ava tried to intercept her, fingers twitching with urgency. My mother placed her hand over Ava's and squeezed. Once. Firm. Final. Then she stepped past her and joined me on the podium. Ladies and gentlemen, I said, pride swelling in my chest, please put your hands together for Daisy Odovlin, the strongest woman I know. The room erupted. Applause thundered. Cameras flashed like lightning. My mother stood tall, shoulders squared, Irish pride etched into every line of her posture. She looked at me and smiled. And in that moment, the truth stood undeniable under crystal lights. Chapter 7. Humiliation took a step back. I helped my mother down from the podium and guided her through the crowd. We found our table and took our seats. I lifted a hand to signal for drinks. Only then did I look at my sister. We share the same face, the same hair, the same build. A mirror split down the middle. But we are not the same. Where she is harsh and ruthless, I am measured. Where she is spiteful, I am deliberate. I am my mother's daughter. She is our father's echo. I leaned over, nudged the chair beside me back with my foot, and pointed at it. Ava didn't move. She stood there, eyes flicking between me and the awards now gleaming on the table like polished trophies of war. Finally, she stepped closer. She didn't sit. She gripped the back of the chair instead and looked at me as if I might vanish if she blinked. The server appeared. I ordered 3 whiskeys, the most expensive on the menu. I glanced at my mom, smiled, then returned my gaze to my sister. Ava lowered herself into the chair slowly. I could practically hear her thoughts misfiring, circuits sparking in real time. She opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. Nothing but air. She folded her hands on the table and stared at me. Ava, I began. Her hand lifted, stopping me. I waited. She took a breath, eyes drifting to the awards and back to my face. You. How? This is impossible. Her eye twitched, the same way it used to when we were kids, and she hit a problem that refused to bend to her will. The whiskey arrived. She downed it in one swallow and immediately asked for another. The server retreated. I sipped mine, slow and deliberate, and watched my sister's world collapse, rebuild, and reboot itself in under a minute. The second glass came. The crystal beaded with cold, ice drifting in the amber like lazy planets. Ava stared into it as if the truth might be waiting at the bottom. Kiva, she said quietly, I don't have words. I don't know how you did this. I don't know when you did this. Her voice had lost its usual edge, its command. It sounded small. I leaned forward. The chandelier caught the silver locket at my throat and scattered light across the table. Ava's gaze followed it. She froze. And in that stillness, I knew. This was the moment she conceded. When her eyes lifted to mine, they were glassy with tears. I reached out slowly, like you would toward something wounded and unpredictable, and laid my hand over hers. All that bullshit people talk about, twins feeling each other, aligning, sharing some invisible thread. Turns out, it isn't bullshit at all. Stay, I whispered. Ava nodded. Chapter 8, Reunion. Ava asked about my life. She wanted to know what I had been doing, how I earned the awards, why I wore the locket. So, I told her everything. After the whole mistaken hack, I was placed in a program that trained people like me to use our skills for something better. I became an unofficial coder for the government, a ghost in their systems. I helped stop terrorist attacks, prevent assassinations, untangle threats before they could take a first breath. Then I built Labyrinth Intelligence. It grew faster than I ever imagined. Last month, we were listed globally as one of the most innovative and fastest-growing tech companies in the world. Ava listened without interrupting, her eyes on me, then drifting back to the locket at my throat. My hand wrapped around it without thinking. I felt the weight of memory, the pull of a different life. It was the only thing they let me keep in the beginning, I said softly, almost reverently. I couldn't take it off. It was my compass. Tears gathered in Ava's eyes as I went on. It was the only thing they let me keep in the beginning, I said softly, almost reverently. You gave it to me for my birthday, the last one before the whole hacking mess. You told me it was a symbol of our bond. Tears gathered in Ava's eyes as I went on. I remember that lanky teenager every time I touch it. I smiled. I kept it close through everything. It's my compass. Ava swallowed hard. You kept it all these years? Ava, I own 4 global companies. I'm worth billions. I just received 2 prestigious awards and have 5 more sitting in my office. But this, I touched the locket again. This is my most prized possession. I can lose everything tomorrow. As long as I have this, I'm still rich as fuck. My mother swatted my arm. I leaned over and kissed her cheek. Sorry, Mom. I turned back to Ava. And I never let go of what it represented. Our bond. Even when the world tried to make me disappear, this stayed with me. Her eyes softened. She reached into her sleeve and brushed the bracelet on her wrist. I kept this too, Kiva, back then. I never wore it then, but I couldn't throw it away. My mother leaned in, smiling gently. I found it under Ava's bed when you left, Kiva. I kept it safe, for both of you. Something warm surged through the 3 of us. That quiet care, those small tokens, had endured the years of distance, of misunderstanding, of near destruction. Ava smiled carefully and reached for my hand. We sat like that for a while, tears sliding down both our faces. Mascara bleeding into our laughter, making us look like 2 corpse brides at a gala. Then my mother burst out laughing, the sound bright and real. And in that moment, I knew. We weren't fixed, weren't whole yet. But we would be okay. Slowly, carefully, we would build something new between us. Mom told Ava about the house. About the mortgage being paid off. Then she dropped the bomb. Kiva saved the company. Ava looked at me as realization flared across her face. You're the 65% shareholder? I nodded. My mother wasn't done. She owns the bank that held the mortgage. Ava barked out a laugh, half hysterical, half awed. She drained the last of her whiskey and motioned for the server. Bring the bottle. He hesitated, then looked at me. I nodded. He returned with a sealed bottle of Jameson Bow Street 18. He showed me the label. I nodded again. He broke the seal and poured. Ava eyed the bottle, then me. Show off. I laughed and slid her glass across the table. Let's talk business. She lifted her drink in a toast. I raised mine. We clinked, the sound clean and bright, a marker for the first of many conversations still waiting for us. My mom lifted her glass too. Imagine a world where you both rule, she said, smiling. I'd feel sorry for any opposition. In that moment, Ava and I looked at each other. And something ancient and electric aligned between us. And everything, the locket, the bracelet, the years apart, the secrets kept aligned. A quiet, unspoken current of love, trust, and understanding flowed between us. Our bond, tested and tempered, had endured. Chapter 9. The Ghost Queen. The night was heavy with anticipation as I left the gala behind. The city lights blurred past the car window, but my mind was elsewhere. The anomaly at the Barcelonan port had not been a mistake. It had been an invitation. A whisper. A challenge. I drove in silence, letting the hum of the engine steady my racing heart. When I reached the coordinates hidden in encrypted messages I'd traced, the port was deserted. Fog hugged the docks like a living thing, curling around rusted cranes and shipping containers. I stepped out of the car, heels clicking against the concrete, and immediately felt it. The air was charged, almost electric, but with a chill that seeped into my bones. The room was dark before I even stepped inside. Not the soft darkness of a power outage, but the kind that felt alive, aware, like the shadows themselves were waiting, watching. My footsteps barely whispered against the obsidian floor as I passed a wall of screens, each one flickering with live feeds from cities I didn't recognize, or perhaps I did, but from angles no one should ever see. A single light illuminated a figure at the far end of the room. Jimena Yanira Rabellini, the ghost queen of Spain. She rose as I approached, like a predator sensing a worthy hunt, her movements liquid and exact, a queen surveying her domain. Her eyes were sharp, black as midnight, yet there was something calculating in them, a spark that said, "I know what you're capable of." "I've been expecting you," she said, her voice smooth, measured, almost teasing. There was no warmth, but there was curiosity and respect lurking underneath the surface. "Likewise," I replied, careful, letting my calm mask the storm of adrenaline in my veins. Though I didn't exactly send an RSVP. Jimena smiled, a faint tilt of lips that didn't reach her eyes. "Rules are flexible for people who can actually break them." She gestured to a seat across a low, black steel table, dotted with screens and holographic displays. "Sit. We have business to discuss." I sat, letting my eyes roam. The screen showed layers upon layers of data, traffic flows, intelligence reports, encrypted signals. My pulse quickened, not from fear, but excitement. This was my kind of playground. She watched me. "I've seen your work, Kiva McAuliffe. The anomaly at the port. Not many can touch the systems I guard." I leaned forward, fingers brushing the edge of the table. "I like a challenge." Besides, I added with a slight grin, "It's not about what's behind the screens. It's what you choose to do with what you see." Jimena's smile widened slightly. She was amused now. "I wondered if you'd recognize the difference between observation and manipulation. Most don't." Her fingers tapped the table, a rhythm almost musical, almost hypnotic. "I want your honesty. Your strategy. We have an opportunity, Kiva, and I need someone who can think in layers, who won't blink when the pressure rises." I nodded, already calculating, already planning. "I don't blink. And I don't play games I can't win." "Good," she said. "I'm ruthless, but I'm not reckless. You'll find I reward clarity and precision, not loyalty or sentiment. That's complicated for most." Her eyes softened for a split second, just enough for me to catch the hint. "But I suspect you understand it. Perhaps better than anyone else." A thrill ran down my spine. This was no ordinary corporate chessboard. This was high stakes, global intelligence. And yet, there was respect here, a bridge being built between light and shadow, honesty and necessity. I opened my laptop, screens layering with encrypted codes, hacking into systems that most people would swear were untouchable. Jimena didn't interrupt. She watched with that same dark intensity, occasionally leaning in to point out subtle patterns I might have missed. "Not many can follow my logic," she murmured. "Not many can anticipate what's coming without being told. She paused, and the silence between us was electric. "You might just be different." I smiled faintly, not daring to let it show too much. "I'm not here to be different. I'm here to be effective. And if we play this right," I added, "we'll make more than just a statement. We'll change the rules entirely." She leaned back, studying me like a sculptor inspecting raw marble. "I like that," she said softly. "Ruthless, calculated, fearless. Let's see if you can keep up. Shall we begin?" And in that moment, I realized that for the first time in years, I was not just facing a challenge, I was stepping into a partnership that could either elevate me to heights I had only dreamed of, or destroy me entirely. Jimena Yanira Rabellini, the ghost queen of Spain, and Kiva Savannah McAuliffe, the architect, finally in the same room. Chapter 10, The First Move. The target was a ghost even by Jimena's standards. A data broker who sold names like currency and secrets like weapons. Governments whispered his alias. Corporations denied knowing him. The underworld called him Vesper. And tonight, he was hosting a private auction inside a floating server vault off the coast of Ibiza. A ship that didn't exist on any registry. A network that didn't show up on any map. My kind of problem. Jimena stood beside a digital table, a hologram of the vessel hovering between us, rotating slowly. He trades in leverage, she said. Blackmail, political pressure, corporate collapse. If Vesper sells your name, you don't get a warning. You get a funeral. I studied the schematic. And you want his ledger? I want his spine, she corrected. But we'll start with the ledger. I opened my laptop. Lines of code unfurled like a living language, weaving through maritime satellites, weather systems, and port authorities. The ship shimmered, its digital ghost resolving into something solid. There, I said. He's hiding behind a weather loop. Every radar sees a storm. Every satellite sees clouds. Underneath it all, he's parked in calm water. Jimena's mouth curved, impressed. Elegant. Honest, I replied. It doesn't lie. It just reveals. We moved. Her people took the water in silence, dark shapes slicing through moonlit waves. I stayed back in the mobile command unit, fingers dancing, eyes everywhere. Cameras bloomed across my screens, deck angles, thermal sweeps, heartbeat sensors embedded in the hull. 2 guards on the starboard corridor, I murmured. They're bored. One's thinking about a woman who doesn't text back. Jimena's voice came through my earpiece, low and amused. You read minds now too? Patterns, I said. People are just another system. She flowed through the ship like smoke given a spine. I watched her move in clean arcs, no wasted motion, no hesitation. Where she passed, resistance simply ended. Then something shifted. A new signal blinked into existence on my screen. Not Vesper's. Not Jimena's. Someone else had joined the dance. Hold, I said sharply. We've got a third player. Define third, Jimena replied, already still. Define hostile, I answered. Someone's probing my firewall. Soft touch. Curious, not aggressive. A smile tugged at my mouth. Amateur. I leaned in and let my code become a mirror. The intruder hit their own reflection and recoiled. Your mystery guest just tripped over themselves, I added. They'll think twice before trying again. Jimena exhaled, slow. Good. I don't like sharing my hunts. She reached the vault. A biometric lock, a retinal scan, and a pressure plate keyed to body weight. I threaded myself into the system, bypassing each layer like untying knots in silk. Step forward, I said. Now. 2 inches to the left. Perfect. The door sighed open. Inside, Vesper's ledger glowed on a glass pedestal. A life's worth of power, distilled into lines of data. Jimena paused, then glanced at the nearest camera. You could take it all, she said quietly. Sell it. Rule a dozen markets by morning. I know, I replied. But that's not why I'm here. Her eyes flicked back to the pedestal. Something like respect settled between us. She took the ledger. Alarms screamed. Of course they did. Time to go, I said, already rerouting patrols and collapsing corridors into dead ends. Follow the blue lights. I'll keep the red ones busy. We moved as one. She hit the deck just as my systems plunged the ship into digital blindness. Lights died. Doors sealed. Cameras saw only themselves. We were gone before Vesper even understood he'd been robbed. Back in the command unit, Jimena removed her earpiece and looked at me. Really looked at me. You didn't take a single copy, she said. I told you, I replied. I don't build my power on someone else's ruin. A slow, dangerous smile spread across her face. You're not like the others. I don't want to be. She stepped closer, the space between us charged with something that wasn't just adrenaline. Light in a dark room, she murmured. That's a liability, Kiva. Only if you stand still, I said. I move. She laughed softly, the sound low and real. Good. Because after tonight, Vesper will come for me. And when he does, her eyes gleamed, he'll find both of us. The ghost queen and the honest architect. Shadow and clarity. And somewhere in that collision, I knew something far more dangerous than any data broker had just been born. Chapter 11. Hairline Cracks. Ava woke up to silence. Not the comfortable kind. The kind that feels like a held breath. Her phone lay face down on the nightstand, vibrating itself tired. She flipped it over and frowned at the string of missed calls. Legal. Finance. The head of acquisitions. A number she didn't recognize, but somehow already didn't like. She sat up, the silk sheets pooling around her waist, and rubbed her eyes. Too early for a coup, she muttered. The first call she answered didn't give her the courtesy of small talk. Ava Odovlin, a man asked. Crisp. Professional. The kind of voice that wore a suit even over the phone. Yes. This is Marco Velasquez, representing Vesper Holdings. We have a concern regarding one of your recent development projects in Valencia. Her stomach tightened. You'll have to be more specific. He obliged. By the time the call ended, her coffee had gone cold in her hand. The Valencia project, the one she'd fast-tracked with a foreign investor who'd come recommended through 3 layers of trusted contacts, was radioactive. The land rights were compromised. The funding trail smelled like a shell inside another shell. Someone had sold her a beautiful lie. She arrived at Odovlin Corp an hour later to find her office already occupied. Her legal team stood in a tight knot near her desk. Her CFO leaned against the window, arms crossed, jaw set. On the screen behind them, her inbox bled red with flagged messages. Kiva's world had fingerprints on this. Ava felt it in her bones. Talk to me, she said. They did. By noon, she understood the shape of the problem. By 1, she understood the size of it. By 2, she realized this wasn't a mistake. This was a message. Her phone buzzed again. The same unknown number. She hesitated, then answered. Ms. Odovlin, the voice said. Different now. Warm. Almost friendly. I hope your morning has been educational. Ava's spine went cold. Who is this? A friend of a friend, the voice replied. You stepped into a market you don't own. We're simply reminding you where the borders are. Ava straightened. If you're trying to intimidate me, you picked the wrong woman. A soft laugh. So I've heard. But strength isn't about how hard you push. It's about knowing when to stop. The line went dead. Ava stood there, phone still pressed to her ear, the room watching her. Somewhere, far beyond boardrooms and balance sheets, a different game was being played. And for the first time since the gala, Ava wondered if her sister wasn't just saving companies. She was fighting wars. Chapter 12, Twin Lines. Ava left Odovlin Corp that evening with her mind spinning. The Valencia disaster wasn't just a financial hit, it was a strategic humiliation. Someone had infiltrated her carefully mapped world, and she knew instinctively it wasn't random. Her phone buzzed again. Unknown number. She stared at it, thumb hovering. Then she remembered. She had Kiva for a sister, whether she admitted it or not. Somehow, instinct whispered Kiva's name even before she dialed. The line clicked. Kiva's voice, calm but sharp, filtered through. Ava, she said, no greeting, no niceties. Kiva. Ava's tone betrayed the tightrope she was walking. You've been crossed, Kiva interrupted, and I need you to sit down. Not for me, for yourself. This isn't a mistake. It's a warning. Ava felt it. The twin bond, that invisible current, thrumming in her chest. She exhaled slowly. Okay, I'm listening. Kiva's instructions were precise. Not a lecture. Not a rebuke. Strategy. First, contain the damage, Kiva said. Freeze Valencia accounts. Hold any transactions. Nobody moves a cent without approval. I'll handle the shadow side. The shadow side? Ava asked, uncertainty curling in her stomach. The one you can't see yet. The one that's already been watching you. Ava's mind raced. She hated feeling vulnerable, but against Kiva's calm, she had no choice but to trust. They were twins, yes, but Kiva had always been the twin who could see the chessboard from above while Ava played on the squares below. Kiva continued, second, stay in communication. Every call, every email, Every whisper I need to know. No secrets. Ava hesitated. Pride clashed with relief. All right, I'll do it. There was a pause, and then Kiva's voice softened, almost imperceptibly. Remember the bracelet? Ava's fingers instinctively brushed her wrist. Kiva's gift. A symbol of their bond, the compass through every storm. It's not just jewelry, Kiva said. It's the line between us and everything else. You feel me, Ava? That bond isn't weak, it's the strongest thing in the world. And if anyone tries to break you or us, they'll be dealing with both of us. A shiver ran down Ava's spine. She wasn't just facing a market betrayal anymore. She was standing on the edge of a war Kiva had been quietly waging all along. And she had a choice: fall back into fear, or step into the current of their bond and let it guide her. She clenched her hand around her wrist, bracelet pressing into her skin. We're in this together, she said. Kiva's voice, satisfied and soft, filled her ear. Always. Chapter 13. Shadows in Motion. Kiva sat back in her chair, the soft hum of servers surrounding her like a heartbeat. Screens flickered with live feeds, maps, and coded anomalies that only she could interpret. Jimena leaned over one of the main terminals, her eyes scanning the digital battlefield like a predator reading prey. You're in overdrive again, Jimena remarked, a faint smirk tugging at her lips. Kiva didn't look up. This isn't playtime. Someone's testing the waters, trying to destabilize what I've built. Jimena's eyes glinted. They'll regret it. Let's see who's bold enough to cross the Ghost Queen and the Architect. Kiva ran a final check on the target files: shell companies, corrupted accounts, fake leads planted to distract her from the real threat. They think they can move in unseen. I love a challenge like this, she whispered. Fingers flew over the keys, lines of code cascading down screens like neon waterfalls. Ava's phone buzzed. She checked it quickly, Kiva's name flashing. Just a heads up, the message read. You're safe. Watch and breathe. I've got this. Ava exhaled slowly, thumb brushing the bracelet on her wrist. That small token, the bond they shared, was all the reassurance she needed. She didn't need to fight. She just needed to know Kiva would handle the shadows. Back in the lair, Jimena's tone shifted, sharper now. I've traced the breach to a private server in Barcelona. They've got security tight but sloppy enough. Kiva smiled. Then we'll go through the back door. An hour later, the two were in position. Jimena's presence was magnetic, dark, and commanding, while Kiva moved like a whisper in the code, her mind a scalpel cutting through digital layers. They worked in tandem. Kiva dismantling firewalls, rerouting data streams, neutralizing surveillance. Jimena stepping into the shadows, tracing physical movements, ready to confront the threat in the real world. Kiva's fingers paused for a moment. We make a hell of a team, she murmured. Jimena's grin was dangerous. The best. Let's remind them why crossing us is a fatal mistake. Outside, the storm was coming, but inside the lair, the storm had already met its match. Chapter 14. The First Cut. Barcelona slept like a beautiful lie. From above, the city glowed in warm amber veins, streets winding like lazy rivers, balconies heavy with laundry and secrets. But beneath that softness, a single building pulsed wrong. Too quiet, too clean, too protected. Kiva watched it through a drone feed, the image mirrored across 6 screens in her lair. That's not a server hub, Jimena said, already pulling on black gloves. That's a fortress pretending to be an office. Kiva's mouth curved, not quite a smile. Then let's stop pretending. The digital door opened first. Kiva slipped into the network the way a whisper slips into a dream. No alarms. No noise. Just a gentle rearranging of reality. Cameras blinked and looked away. Motion sensors developed sudden, very convenient blind spots. Jimena moved through the physical world with the same precision. Her boots made no sound against concrete as she crossed a rooftop, then another, her body a shadow stitched between shadows. Third floor. East wing, Kiva murmured into her earpiece. They're running a closed loop. Data laundering. Money's just the perfume. Who's inside? Jimena asked. Kiva paused, fingers hovering. 3 operatives. 1 handler. And a name I don't like. Say it. Morales. Jimena exhaled slow. Of course it's Morales. Men like him don't build empires. They infest them. Inside, the enemy thought they were alone. They were not. Kiva cracked the handler's terminal and let a quiet chaos bloom. Bank accounts froze. Offshore shells collapsed. A decade of invisible power began to fold in on itself like a bad card trick. On one screen, a man shouted at another in a language that didn't matter. On another, a phone rang and rang and rang. Jimena reached the stairwell door and tested it. Unlocked. Your house of cards is wobbling, Jimena whispered. Kiva smiled at the sound of panic blooming through the wires. Good. Let it fall beautifully. The confrontation came fast. 2 guards in the corridor. 1 surprise. No drama. Jimena moved like a sentence written in muscle and intent. A hand, a pivot, a breath. They were down before the echo of their own footsteps caught up. She pressed a finger to her earpiece. Hallway clear. Go left, Kiva said. Handler's office. He's about to realize he's been erased. The handler was mid-rant when the door opened. He froze. Jimena stood there, calm as a winter lake. Who the hell are you? He demanded. She stepped inside and closed the door behind her. I'm the part of the story you don't survive. His screen chimed. Kiva's voice poured through the speakers, velvet and steel. Your accounts are empty. Your backups are mine. Your boss is currently discovering he's poor and famous. The handler's face drained of color. Jimena leaned in, just enough. You should have stayed invisible. Hours later, the operation concluded. Morales was contained, the data secured, the threat neutralized without a single civilian harmed. Kiva leaned back, the thrill of the chase still electric in her veins. Jimena reappeared in the secure room, removing her gloves. First mission done. Not perfect, but clean. Kiva glanced up, a rare smile playing on her lips. Clean enough. And the world just learned it can't touch us. Jimena's dark eyes softened slightly. Not me. But you. Kiva shook her head. I'm just the architect, Jimena. You're the storm. And in the shadows, the ghost queen and the architect prepared for the storms yet to come. Kiva finally leaned back, tension easing from her shoulders. She checked her phone. 1 message sent. You're safe. Always. Across the distance, Ava's reply came back like a heartbeat. I know. Chapter 15, Strategy and Sparks. The office smelled faintly of leather and rich tobacco, the city lights outside painting long streaks across the walls. Jimena's space was a throne of organized chaos, screens displaying maps, financial records, and security feeds, all flickering with quiet urgency. Kiva stood at the edge of the main console, watching data pour in like a river of fire. Another anomaly in the North District, Kiva said, her fingers already tracing the intrusion. Looks like a laundering ring tied to the Carrillo syndicate. Jimena leaned back in her chair, the shadows catching the sharp angles of her face. Clean it up. No loose ends. You know I don't tolerate amateurs. Her voice was calm, but there was steel beneath it. Kiva smiled faintly, not out of arrogance, but from the thrill of the hunt. Amateurs never survive our audits. She slid onto the chair beside Jimena, their shoulders brushing for a moment. A current ran through her, subtle but undeniable. As they worked, eliminating threats with the precision of 2 predators hunting in tandem, a tension built, not in words, but in glances, in proximity, in the shared knowledge that each was the only one capable of matching the other. Jimena's fingers hovered over her keyboard, then lingered near Kiva's as she leaned in to trace a suspicious transaction. Kiva didn't pull back. Their eyes met, a silent challenge and acknowledgement at once. "You always make this look too easy," Jimena murmured, a hint of admiration threaded with something sharper. Kiva's lips curved. "You think it's easy? Only when I have a partner who can keep up." A laugh escaped Jimena, low and teasing. "Careful, architect. Flattery won't save you when I turn on you." "I'm counting on it," Kiva replied, the corner of her mouth lifting. Outside, the city buzzed, unaware of the storm quietly converging in that office. Threats were identified and neutralized, one by one, but in the space between keystrokes and whispered commands, a different kind of fire was igniting, one neither could ignore. By the time the last anomaly was resolved, both women sat back, screens dimmed, silence settling like a velvet cloak. And yet, the air between them crackled, heavy with unspoken understanding, dangerous chemistry, and the knowledge that they were far more effective together than apart. "First round down," Kiva said softly. Jimena's gaze held hers. "And just the beginning." Chapter 16. Calculated Heat. The hum of servers and low chatter of agents filled the command room, but to Kiva and Jimena, it might as well have been silent. Each alert that pinged across the screens was addressed with precision, another threat neutralized, another puzzle solved. Their synergy was uncanny, a silent rhythm of strategy and instinct. Kiva leaned over a set of encrypted communications, her breath brushing Jimena's shoulder. "They're moving faster than I anticipated. We need to reroute assets to the eastern sector." Jimena's hand hovered just inches from Kiva's as she tapped commands into the console. "Already on it," she said, her tone clipped, but her eyes lingering on Kiva a fraction longer than necessary. They moved through the room like dancers in a dangerous ballet, side by side, overlapping strategies without a single word wasted. The efficiency was intoxicating. And somewhere between a flashing map of compromised networks and the hum of code, the heat between them became undeniable. Kiva's fingers paused on the keyboard for a heartbeat too long, her gaze catching Jimena's in a fleeting, electric moment. Jimena didn't look away. She never did. "You know," Kiva murmured, almost to herself, "working with you is distracting." Jimena's lips curved in a shadow of a smile, a predator's smile, one that promised amusement and maybe danger. "I was thinking the same thing," she admitted, her voice low. "Distracting can be productive if managed correctly." Kiva's pulse quickened. She focused on the code in front of her, pretending the flush in her cheeks wasn't real. Behind the screens, the world was still in motion, threats appearing and being eliminated with lethal precision. But here, in this room, the most potent danger was the pull between them. By the time the last alert resolved, Kiva leaned back, brushing a stray curl from her face, heart still racing. Jimena exhaled, a rare softness in her posture. Their shoulders brushed again as they stood side by side, the unspoken acknowledgement of what was simmering between them heavier than any digital threat. "Another mission cleanly executed," Kiva said, voice steady, though her hands still tingled from proximity. Jimena's dark eyes met hers. "Yes, though I suspect the real challenge isn't the threats outside this room." Kiva's laugh was quiet but unrestrained, a spark against the tension. "I think we can handle that too." For the first time that day, they let the world outside the room wait. The missions would always be there. But the heat simmering between them? That required attention, focus, and strategy all its own. Chapter 17. The Trap. Kiva had always been the architect, the one behind the screens, pulling the strings from a distance. But today was different. Today, she had stepped into the field and into a trap that was nothing short of art. The room she entered was deceptively simple, high ceilings, minimal furniture, but every surface, every shadow, every glint of light screamed calculation. She froze for the briefest moment, noting the precision. Whoever had done this knew her patterns, her instincts, her weaknesses. A soft click echoed behind her. Kiva's fingers twitched toward the concealed weapon at her side, but it was too late. The trap snapped shut with elegance and efficiency, a beautiful but deadly design. Before panic could take root, a shadow moved across the room with predatory grace. Jimena. Focus. Jimena's voice cut through the tension like a whip. She stepped between Kiva and the nearest threat, her presence a shield and a warning all at once. Stop being distracted. Kiva's pulse raced, not from fear, but from the proximity, the command, the way Jimena's dark eyes pinned her in place. Without thinking, she muttered, then stop being so damn distracting. Jimena's lips twitched, half a smirk, half a warning. I don't work that way, she said, moving with lethal precision to neutralize the last of the threat. Kiva watched, heart hammering, admiration, and something hotter tangling together. When the danger was gone, Jimena finally let out a breath, turning to Kiva with an intensity that left no room for doubt. You survived, yes. But only because I didn't let you die being cute. Kiva rolled her eyes, but couldn't hide the grin tugging at her lips. Cute isn't exactly the word I'd use for surviving a trap set by someone who clearly wants to outsmart me. Jimena's gaze darkened, magnetic, pulling Kiva into a silence that was louder than any alarm. Then learn. Focus. Or next time, I won't be there to save you. Kiva's hands itched to dive back into code, to lose herself in control, but for once, the pull of the moment, of Jimena, was stronger than her obsession with precision. Noted, she said, voice low, teasing, heart racing. But you? You really need to stop being so damn distracting. Jimena's laugh was soft, dark, filled with promise. I think not, she said. Not now, not ever. Kiva exhaled slowly, letting the tension roll off her shoulders, but only just enough to know the next time they stepped into the field, the stakes would be higher, the danger sharper, and the distraction even more impossible to ignore. Chapter 18. The Architect's Shadow. Kiva didn't sleep. She sat in Jimena's office long after the city had folded itself into night, screens casting pale constellations across her face. The trap replayed in her mind, not as fear, not as chaos, but as familiarity. That was the sin of it. The code wasn't hostile. It wasn't loud. It didn't scream intrusion. It whispered. Kiva's fingers hovered over the keyboard, then moved with a tenderness she reserved for old memories and old ghosts. Who taught you to hide like this? She murmured. Jimena leaned against the desk, arms folded, eyes sharp, reading Kiva instead of the screens. You're not chasing an enemy, she said quietly. You're chasing a history. Kiva exhaled through her nose. Worse. The map of networks, shell companies, and mirrored financial corridors bloomed across the monitors like a mechanical garden. Layers peeled back. Veils fell. And there it was. A name she hadn't spoken in years. Una Varelli. Kiva's throat went tight. Una hadn't just been a partner. She had been a mentor, a co-conspirator, a shadow at her side when the government program turned brilliance into a weapon. They built systems together. They broke them together. They laughed over cheap coffee at 4 a.m, bleeding code into sunrise. And when Kiva walked away to build Labyrinth Intelligence, Una stayed behind. Or so Kiva thought. There's a shell company nested inside 5 others, Kiva said, voice low, steady. It routes funding, intel, and logistics like a ghost train. I built this framework years ago. Jimena straightened. With her. Kiva nodded once. She knows how I think, Kiva continued. Which means she knows how I move. That trap wasn't meant to kill me. Jimena's eyes darkened. It was meant to test you. Kiva pulled up a financial thread, then another, then a third. The pattern formed a spiral. She's been feeding threats into our operational space, Kiva said. Letting us clean them up. Watching how you and I respond. Measuring us. Jimena gave a slow, dangerous smile. So, the Ghost Queen and the Architect have been dancing for an audience. Kiva finally looked at her. And now the audience is about to realize the show is over. They didn't storm in. They didn't strike blind. They built a mirror. Kiva seeded false data into Labyrinth's network, a phantom expansion project with just enough truth stitched into it to look real. A fake port deal. A fabricated security vulnerability. A whispered prize. Unabit. The signal flared across the map like a match in darkness. Got you, Kiva breathed. Jimena was already moving, issuing commands in a voice that turned people into weapons and plans into inevitabilities. Ghost protocol teams slid into position across 3 countries. Financial locks snapped shut. Accounts froze. Communications blacked out. And in the center of it all, Kiva opened a private channel. The screen flickered. Una appeared. Her face was older, sharper, eyes still carrying that familiar wildfire. She smiled like she'd been waiting for this. "Key," she said softly. "Took you long enough." Kiva felt the old ache rise, then she crushed it. "You stepped into my world," Kiva replied. "You used my name, my work, my people. That makes this personal." Una tilted her head. "You walked away. I built an empire in the space you left behind." Jimena stepped into frame beside Kiva, her presence a blade made flesh. "And now it collapses," Jimena said. Kiva's fingers danced. The shell companies folded in on themselves, contracts dissolving, assets rerouted, networks burning clean like paper in a controlled fire. Una watched it happen in real time, her smile fading, not into panic, but into something like respect. "You always were better at endings," she said. Kiva leaned closer to the screen. "And you always underestimated my alliances." The channel went dead. Silence rushed in, heavy and electric. Kiva sagged back into the chair, the weight of history finally leaving her shoulders. Jimena didn't speak. She simply reached out, resting her hand on the edge of the desk near Kiva's. Not a command. Not a claim. A presence. Kiva looked up at her, something raw and unguarded in her eyes. "You just took down the only person who ever knew how to beat you," Jimena said quietly. Kiva huffed a breath. "No. I took down the person who thought I'd stay the same." Jimena's mouth curved, slow and dangerous. "Good." Their eyes held. Outside, the city kept breathing. Somewhere, an empire was falling apart. Somewhere else, a new one was deciding what it wanted to become. And between the Ghost Queen and the Architect, the air was no longer just tension. It was inevitable. Chapter 19. The Architect Rewrites the Queen. The city sprawled beneath them, a constellation of lights tangled with shadows. Wind tugged at Kiva's hair, teased the hems of her jacket, but she barely noticed. Jimena sat beside her on the edge of the rooftop, the Ghost Queen stripped of screens, code, and operations. Just her. Just them. Kiva could feel the pulse of the night, the quiet hum of a world unaware that 2 of its most dangerous players were sitting mere feet above it. Kiva exhaled, letting the tension of the past hours bleed from her shoulders. The trap. Una. The betrayal. It had been too close, too intimate in a way she didn't care to admit. "You realize," Jimena said, voice low, almost a growl, "that if that had gone differently." Kiva didn't finish the thought. She didn't have to. They both knew. A long silence followed, filled only with the soft hiss of the city below. Then, almost without thinking, Kiva's fingers brushed Jimena's hand. Jimena froze. And then, as if drawn by the same magnetic pull neither wanted to name aloud, she inched closer, letting her fingers linger, letting the warmth sink in. Kiva's heart beat in sync with the city lights below, every blink and flicker echoing the rhythm of her pulse. The Architect, the one who rewrote realities in code, was suddenly rewriting something far more dangerous. Her fingers tightened. Jimena didn't pull back. Their eyes met, and it was like seeing the city refracted through molten steel. Kiva leaned in, ever so slightly, and Jimena mirrored her motion. "You're distracting," Kiva whispered, breath catching. Jimena smirked, but it wasn't playful. It was dangerous. Stop blaming me. Kiva's laughter was low, rough, a sound of inevitability. I can't help it. They were close enough now that the night didn't matter. The rooftop didn't matter. Just the taut line between them, the shared breath, the heat building, the quiet acknowledgement of desire that had been simmering beneath the surface for far too long. Kiva brushed a thumb across Jimena's knuckles. The Ghost Queen was fire, lethal and unyielding, but Kiva was the architect. And right now, she was rewriting every boundary Jimena had ever claimed for herself. One hand slid from knuckles to wrist, up the arm, brushing the slick heat of sweat and tension. Jimena leaned into it, letting the edge of control falter. Kiva's other hand traced the line of her jaw, memorizing, mapping, claiming, not in code, but in skin. It was meticulous, precise, the architect at work, but far messier, far more human than any algorithm could predict. Jimena's breath hitched. Kiva's lips hovered near hers. Not a kiss yet. Not yet. Just the promise of one. You realize this changes everything, Jimena murmured, her voice thick, almost a warning. Kiva smiled, low and sly. I rewrite things every day. Maybe it's your turn. And with that, the line between strategy and surrender blurred. Not a plan. Not a mission. Not a code. Just them. Sweat, skin, and the dangerous thrill of finally giving in. The city watched in silence. Kiva leaned in, her breath brushing Jimena's, teasing the edge of control that neither wanted to fully claim yet. The city lights below painted them in fragmented gold and silver, a private stage for a dangerously intimate play. And then, finally, their lips met. It was slow at first, testing, teasing, an unspoken negotiation. Kiva pressed just enough, letting Jimena feel the precise weight of her hands, the deliberate heat of her touch. Jimena responded in kind, softening, trembling into the pressure, letting herself be undone just enough to feel alive in a way no mission, no adrenaline rush, could ever match. The kiss deepened, jagged and electric, mixing the thrill of dominance with the surrender neither dared admit aloud. Fingers tangled in hair, palms pressed to slick skin, hearts hammering. Every gasp, every shiver, every tremor of surrender was proof of a connection neither could code, nor predict, nor control. Kiva pulled back just enough to look into Jimena's eyes, and there it was, the raw, unfiltered acknowledgement of trust, danger, and desire coiling between them. The night air wrapped around them, carrying the sound of the city and the echo of something new, something them. Kiva's hands roamed with purpose, mapping curves and edges, tracing the taut muscles and soft lines of Jimena's body. Every brush of her fingertips was a spark, a question, a command, and every shiver Jimena released was an answer Kiva savored. They stumbled back from the rooftop, guided by instinct, hearts hammering in sync, breaths ragged, lips never breaking contact. The city lights blurred into streaks behind them as Kiva led Jimena through the penthouse, their fingers locked, their bodies pressed tight, a magnetic pull neither could resist. Inside the bedroom, the door barely closed before they collided again. Clothes became a chaotic puzzle, discarded in favor of skin-on-skin contact. Kiva's hands anchored Jimena to the mattress, tilting her head, exploring, commanding yet reverent, while Jimena arched into her touch, surrendering fully to the architect who had rewritten her world. Every gasp, every moan, every tremor was a language Kiva understood better than any code. She traced the line of Jimena's jaw, down her neck, along her spine, every shiver recorded in memory, every moan a note in a symphony of surrender and desire. Finally, they lay together, bodies entwined, the heat between them lingering like smoke. Kiva's lips brushed Jimena's once more, slow, deliberate, savoring the moment where dominance and surrender intertwined. Who am I, you ask? Who is this woman that held the most powerful woman down while drawing every gasp, every moan, and every shiver from her trembling body, completely surrendered to my touch? I am just the architect that rewrote the Ghost Queen into surrender. Chapter 20. Morning After Tension. Sunlight seeped through the blinds, slashing lines of gold across the bedroom floor. Kiva lay half awake, tangled in sheets and the lingering warmth of Jimena's body beside her. The air smelled faintly of leather, sweat, and something sweeter than. Jimena shifted, stretching, her gaze landing on Kiva with that familiar, unreadable intensity. For a moment, they just looked at each other, the space between desire and restraint crackling with tension. No words, just the quiet hum of consequences waiting to be acknowledged. Kiva finally broke the silence, her voice low, teasing yet edged with seriousness. Morning, Ghost Queen. Jimena smirked, but it didn't reach her eyes. Don't call me that here. Not now. We still have business to attend to. Kiva rolled onto her side, propping her head on one hand, eyes locking with Jimena's. Business, huh? You mean missions? Or the fact that you've got me thinking about last night instead of coding the next extraction? Jimena's lips quirked, a hint of a smile tugging at her usual stoic mask. You let yourself get distracted. Kiva leaned closer, a whisper brushing Jimena's ear, warm and mischievous. Then maybe you shouldn't be so damn distracting. There was a pause, a breath, a shared recognition. Last night wasn't just fire, it was a revelation. A boundary crossed, yet a line acknowledged. Neither would deny the pull, but both knew that out there, in the world of codes and protocols, their priorities were clear. The missions came first. The trust, the bond, the fire between them, those were secondary, for now. Kiva stretched lazily, fingers brushing Jimena's hand. Don't think this thing between us changes what we do. But it does change me. Jimena's gaze softened ever so slightly. It changes both of us. Just don't let it compromise the work. Kiva laughed softly, low and satisfied. Compromise? I don't do compromise. I adapt. Like always. Their hands intertwined without needing more words, the quiet agreement hanging between them. We move forward together, carefully, fiercely, and just a little dangerously. The city outside waited, unaware of the storm that had passed here, between them. And for Kiva, that tension, sharp, electric, intoxicating, was just another algorithm to decode. Only this time, the code was skin and desire, trust and fire, and the Ghost Queen was the most exquisite problem she had ever solved. Epilogue: New Foundations. The evening sun bathed the Odovlin estate in golden light, spilling warmth across manicured lawns and sparkling glass. For once, there was no tension, no hidden agendas, no fires to put out. Just a family rebuilt, stronger, and profoundly aware of the battles they'd survived. Daisy Odovlin sat on the veranda, glass of wine in hand, watching her daughters move through the garden. Ava, poised and magnetic as ever, had fully embraced her role at Odovlin Corporation. The company she had once thought was hers alone now thrived under her leadership, but she no longer needed to measure herself against her sister. Her confidence was quiet, hard-earned, and undeniably real. Kiva, meanwhile, was no longer the shadow behind a laptop. She had brought labyrinth intelligence and ghost protocols together, combining their strengths into a single, formidable entity while respecting the independence that made each unique. Jimena, the Ghost Queen, now more partner than rival, laughed softly at a comment Kiva made about a new cybersecurity protocol, her usual stoicism giving way to something warmer, something shared between them alone. The sisters' eyes met across the veranda, a silent acknowledgement passing between them, no competition, no resentment, only the bond that had been tested, stretched, and ultimately strengthened. Kiva's hand brushed against Jimena's, a subtle claim, a promise that whatever storms came next, they would face them together. Daisy raised her glass, and all three followed suit. To new beginnings, she said softly, her Irish lilt carrying pride, relief, and love. To family, to trust, and to the women I am most proud of. The clink of glasses was more than ceremonial. It was a declaration. Kiva's empire, Jimena's cunning, Ava's drive, and Daisy's unwavering heart had converged into a new order. Each had adapted, evolved, and found their place, not in opposition, but in balance. Later, as the sun dipped below the horizon, the estate hummed with quiet energy. Meetings would resume, missions would call, and challenges would arise, but for tonight, there was laughter, ease, and the rare luxury of peace. The future was open, and together, they would write it on their own terms. As the others two turned to continue conversation, Kiva and Jimena lingered in the quiet corner of the veranda. Kiva's fingers twined with hers, tracing the familiar strength beneath soft skin. Jimena leaned in, voice low, a whisper only Kiva could hear. "You're impossible," Jimena murmured, half teasing, half challenge. Kiva smirked, pressing a light kiss to the back of her hand. "You're distracting," she shot back. The corners of Jimena's lips lifted in that rare, private smile Kiva had come to crave. They stayed like that for a moment longer, foreheads brushing, breaths mingling, feeling the unspoken tension of past missions, rooftop nights, and battles fought side by side. It was a quiet, unbreakable acknowledgement, no words necessary. The fire they had sparked was theirs, forged in danger, trust, and mutual understanding, and it would burn strong, always. As the evening deepened, Kiva and Jimena stepped onto the balcony, the night air cool against their skin. Lights from the city below shimmered like stars, and a soft breeze tangled their hair together. Without realizing it, their hands found each other again, fingers intertwining, a silent acknowledgement of everything that had brought them here. Kiva's thumb brushed over Jimena's knuckles, slow, deliberate, the simple touch carrying every spark of adrenaline, danger, and desire they had shared. Jimena's hand tightened around hers in response, and for a moment, neither spoke. Words were unnecessary. The tension of past missions, the thrill of rooftop encounters, and the intimacy of nights spent close enough to feel each other's heartbeat was all there, electric and unbroken. "Peaceful, isn't it?" Jimena murmured, voice low, almost shy in the rare softness Kiva had learned to treasure. Kiva smirked, leaning her forehead against Jimena's. "Almost, until we start plotting the next move," she teased, but her voice held a warmth that wasn't entirely joking. Jimena chuckled softly, the sound vibrating through their joined hands. They stayed like that for a long moment, the city lights reflecting in their eyes, two forces of nature tethered together by trust, challenge, and a fire neither could extinguish. And then Kiva's mind drifted to the thought that had always followed her through danger, through victories, and through nights like this one. Who am I, you ask? Who is this woman that held the most powerful woman down, tracing every gasp, every shiver, until she surrendered completely to my touch? I am just the architect that rewrote the Ghost Queen, now not in code, but in skin, in sweat, in every beat of desire that tethered us together. Their hands remained intertwined as the night wrapped around them, a quiet promise and a dangerous thrill, a future written not in spreadsheets or mission logs, but in touch, in heat, and in the unspoken language only they shared. Thank you so much for listening. Please subscribe and like this video and follow me for more stories. You are always welcome here, and leave me a comment or a thumbs up, just letting me know if you like the story and would like more, or is there perhaps an idea that you would like to share or let me write for you.